can see the little red light on, so it's on. Okay, good. Right now what I'm going to try to do here is something actually really tricky. I'm going to try to tell you guys, or give you the basics of the difference between using the preterite tense and the imperfect tense. Now here's what happens. For native English speakers, this is a really, really tough thing to master because ever since we were little kids, we were always told, oh yeah, all these actions that you're talking about, that's just in the past tense. We didn't really distinguish between the preterite and the imperfect. Even though English has a preterite tense and an imperfect tense, we kind of clumped them together. So we don't really focus on, okay, is that the preterite, is that the imperfect? It's just the past. And so when we're trying to learn how to do this in Spanish, it's really tough because we don't really have anything to compare it to in English. So what I'm going to try to do is just give you the basics here of when to use the preterite tense and when to use the imperfect tense. Okay, I'm going to give you a drawing here. First off, this is me. This is the stairs outside the classroom here. And you see, this is me. You can tell I'm an artist, okay? And this is me, okay? It's these pictures describe the same event. I fell down the stairs. I did actually, but I'm just using it as an example, okay? So I fell down the stairs. Now I can describe this two different ways, okay? I can talk about it being complete. Oh, I fell down the stairs and there I am lying in a pool of my own blood. Or I could say, well, I was falling down the stairs when my life flashed before my eyes, okay? And that's kind of the difference between the preterite and the imperfect. The preterite tense, and you see I got the word preterite down here, focuses on the completion of the action in the past. It's over, it's done with, okay? Whereas the imperfect takes you back into the middle of the action that was going on in the past. While I was falling down the stairs. I haven't hit the ground yet. I'm falling, but I'm not done falling, okay? And that's the basic idea. As a matter of fact, the word imperfect comes from Latin, the Latin word meaning incomplete. So that's one way you can look at this. The imperfect tense talks about things that are incomplete in the past. Look, everything's complete in the past. It's over, it's done with. But how we describe it, how we look at it, that determines whether we use the imperfect or the preterite, okay? Let me give you another example, okay? These are timelines up here. So the preterite timeline, you'll notice I just have one thing right here, one little slash. So I could say something like this. Rupert kissed Wanda. Okay? Boom, it's over. He went in for the kill after their fifth date. They waited until the fifth date to find a kiss. And he went in and he kissed her. Boom, it's over with. Now, that's how we could describe it in the preterite. It's over, it's done with. But if we use the imperfect, notice I've got two slashy lines here. This represents this same line right here, but we're expanding it. We're going to go back into the middle of the action. While Rupert was kissing Wanda, he remembered that he didn't brush his teeth and his breath probably stunk. But the point is, while he was kissing, these are the same event. One, I'm describing it using the preterite tense. It's over, it's done with. He kissed her. The imperfect, remember, imperfect means incomplete. So I'm going back into the middle of that. While he was kissing her, okay, it's not done yet. Obviously it's done. I mean, it happened whenever ago. But we're going back into the middle of the action, okay? So that's, again, the basics of when to use the imperfect, okay, or versus the preterite. Now, a couple of rules, and I've got them over here. And these, again, these are just the simple rules. This is all we're going to be doing right now. Whenever we're talking about completed actions, okay, somebody arrived, they left, some Mason taught a lesson poorly, something like that. We use the preterite. When we're talking about the beginning or the ending of any action, okay, they got up, they ran, they took off, they started doing their homework, any of that, that's going to be preterite, okay? There's a little bit more to that, but that's what you need to know for now. The imperfect, okay, ongoing or incomplete actions. Remember, go back to this. I was falling down the stairs. I'm not done yet. Okay, that's an ongoing, it's not complete. Rupert was kissing Wanda. Okay, it was going on, all right? So that's when we use the imperfect. This is the thing that kind of gets people. Whenever you talk about habitual, repeated actions, okay, in the past, in English we might say something like this. Well, when I was a kid, I used to, what? I used to watch cartoons. I used to eat cookies and milk. I used to throw rocks at cars, okay? Whenever you're talking about something that is repeated in the past, we use the imperfect, with one exception. If I were to say something like this, I used to throw rocks at cars. Okay? How many times did I do it? I don't know, a bunch of times. I'm not being specific. I use the imperfect tense. However, if I say this, I threw rocks at cars 4 times. The moment I get specific with the number of times something happened, or a time period, I threw rocks at cars for 6 days. Okay? The moment I get specific with a time period or a specific number of times the action was completed, that's when I have to use the preterite. Okay? Because they look at that as completed action. You're not going back into the middle of your rock-throwing reign of terror. You're talking about how many times you did it, it's over, it's done with. Okay? So again, habitual or repeated actions, as long as you're kind of vague, like I used to do this, well, my grandfather used to walk uphill in the snow both ways to school, something like that. That's the imperfect. Okay? And then whenever you're talking about physical or emotional descriptions, somebody was sad, it was hot, it was raining, he was hungry, anything like that. Anything that was ongoing, think of it as like an ongoing action. A physical or an emotional description is always going to be in the imperfect. And then this is the kicker. This is the one that really throws people. Age and time is always going to be in the imperfect. Whenever you talk about how old somebody was, or at what time something occurred, you have to use the imperfect tense. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive because you're thinking, well, wait, that's completed action. That's very specific. You know, you're only 15 for an exact year. And you're right, and I'm with you on this. This is kind of tricky. The idea, the way they look at it is that your age or the time of day was kind of the ongoing action when something else occurred. So if I said, I was 15 when I broke my leg, okay, what was ongoing? Well, I was 15. I was being 15. I'm not done being 15. And then, boom, I broke my leg. Okay, so you'll notice in this sentence we're using an imperfect and a preterite in the same sentence. I was 15, tenía 15 años, cuando something happened. Me rompí la pierna. I broke my leg. Okay, so there was an imperfect and a preterite. But again, going back to this, time. If you say something like, it was 5 o'clock when it started raining. It was 5 o'clock. That's the ongoing action. It's not done yet. It's imperfect. When it started to rain, preterite. Okay? Last thing about this. Imperfect is kind of like the background story. Okay? It was a dark and stormy night. It was the middle of December. We were all sitting in, huddled by the fire. When? Okay, all of that stuff was imperfect. What happened? There was a knock at the door. A man dressed in purple polka dots entered. He threw his cape onto the floor and sang us a song, and then left. Okay? Notice, that was mostly imperfect at the beginning, and then it was all preterite towards the end. And that's an important point. If you try and tell a story using just imperfect, it'll be very flowery, very entertaining, but nothing will happen. Okay? It was beautiful, it was sunny, the birds were chirping, the grass was growing, Mason was falling down the stairs, okay? But what happened? What happened in the story? Tell us where we go, what happened? You can't, you need the preterite to do that. On the other hand, if you just use preterite, he walked in, he grabbed the food, he left. Okay, you're telling us what happened, but it's a boring story, okay? So imperfect is kind of like the background of a painting. You can think of it that way. It tells you, you know, you can see all the different things that are happening, but then the preterite is the stuff that's happening right in the focus, right in the front of the painting. That's the thing that the artist wants you to focus on, but this stuff here also makes the painting beautiful. So when you're telling stories, which you're going to have to do here, think about that. Think about using the imperfect for all of the background information, what people looked like, how, what they were wearing, what they were doing when other things occurred. Okay? And that is the basic idea of the preterite versus the imperfect.